I really appreciate those kind words. It means a lot to me. Although I think most of the reason they stare at me is because they try to figure out why my voice is so deep. But with that said, what I want to talk about today, and I'll kind of get to the point, I won't use PowerPoint or anything today, is, like Lane said, just a little bit of my life's journey and just how that shaped my thought on myself making excuses, right? And even just others in the field. And I won't speak for everyone, I'll speak for myself. And maybe there are some that can kind of draw parallels to this, but um, a lot of times we find ourselves talking to other individuals, or let's say talking to athletes, and we've probably all been in this scenario where an athlete messes up and we get frustrated and we ask them, why did you do that? And you get in multiple scenarios. You get that one athlete that's just ran. Everything they're saying is just an excuse. And then you get two others that don't say anything. One because they don't care, and the other because they would rather not disrespect you by making an excuse, right? Even if it does seem like a justified reason. And I found myself over the years just making excuses, whether it be outspoken and verbally or just internally, for not being able to do something or not pursuing something later on. I was that guy that all through grade school, and I've been to school in numerous countries now, it's like every single report card, somewhere on that report card from each teacher said, William has potential. And it got to the point where, like, by the time I was in high school, I was sick of the word potential because it always meant that I just didn't do well enough. And for me, that just, it struck me in the direction of, well, why aren't I? And so one of the things that I started to tell myself was that I was busy, right? And that was the first lie, right? The word busy, and I put it on a PowerPoint and I took it off, and I wrote it on a piece of paper, I took it off. And it's one of those ones just like bowl. If you say it often enough or you read it often enough, it just looks weird. It doesn't sound right. It doesn't make any sense. But I was busy because I was trying to do everything that everybody was telling me I was supposed to do. I got to college, and some of you know, some of you don't, but my first major was accounting. And it was really, really quick after that first set of midterms that I realized I could do this. I kind of struggled on that midterm, but this is not something that I want to do. And so I changed directions, and as a result, I decided to just make myself really busy with all the other things that I thought I was supposed to be doing. So fast forward 4 years, myself and a roommate, we were writing a thesis. I would wake up 6 a.m., get my training in. I had to train separate from the weightlifting coach that I had at the time. And then I would work part-time as a personal trainer for a few hours. Fast forward to about 5 p.m., I would finish up what I had to be doing after coaching the men's basketball team, because I'm now their strength coach. And I drive 45 minutes to play for a farm league team that I was playing for at the time, just to practice, and then drive 45 minutes back, work on our thesis with my roommate. 10, 11 p.m. came by, and I would do that all over again for about a whole year. And I took pride in that, much the same way that myself and I know some other coaches take pride in the fact that we're the workhorses, we're the grinders, we do all these things. But I wasn't necessarily getting anywhere. The strength conditioning job that I had, like, that job alone would have put me far, far below the poverty line, right? And I wasn't getting anywhere with my family. I had been isolating people. I'd been doing all these things, but all because I was just busy. And so I looked at just what we do as a profession and what we ask of our athletes. Like, we ask them to be athletes. We want them to be good. But then we always have these camps on what we want them to be good at. Right? For many of us, it's unacceptable for athletes to be really good at their sport, but they're now academically uneligible because they just wouldn't go to class. So we tell them to go to school. And then we have this other camp where it's like, you know what, I want them to be outstanding and upstanding citizens. I want them to be best men and women they can possibly be later in life. I want to be good fathers, good mothers, good wives and husbands. I want to be all that. But then again, like, that doesn't necessarily mean they shouldn't be good at what they want to do, their career, their lives, their jobs, those other things that are just kind of encompassing around that. And I thought to myself, like, if I look at my life as my life being the athlete, there's a whole lot of things. There's a whole lot of levels, there's a whole lot of layers to it. I'm a son. I'm a brother. Most recently, I'm a husband. And Like there's all these other things that we can add on to that, but I also coach, right? And I say these things somewhat loosely because I don't think they are who I am. They're things that I do, or they are certain responsibilities that I have, or titles that have been thrust upon me. But that doesn't make any one of those things an excuse for me not to do the other well. If I'm trying really, really hard to reconnect with my family and be a really great husband or a really great brother to the siblings that I have, that doesn't mean that I let my job go by the wayside. It doesn't mean that some of the people that I work around and the relationships that I have the opportunity to build, that I stop trying to build those. And kind of going more specific to strength conditioning, if I'm trying to make sure that every man and woman, every boy and girl that I coach is just an outstanding, upstanding role model for their peers and they can move through life being a great man or great woman, that doesn't give me a rite of passage not to get better as a coach so I can coach them where they're at now, right? Because that's the vessel that I've been given to have an impact on these individuals. So I've toyed with all these words and all these excuses and, again, played devil's advocate with myself for all these things because I've done them so many times, right? I've done them enough times to see that, you know what, I've got a different perspective. I've got, you know what, maybe different values now. Oh, you know what, maybe my priorities are different. As much as I agree with all those, I'll still say, and this is me being devil's advocate to myself, like that doesn't give me an excuse. If my priority now is family, it doesn't give me an excuse to say, you know what, I'm not going to read this. I'm not going to get better at my craft. And because that's not what's important at the end of the day. And on the flip side, like I'm a nerd with the rest of them. And as much as I dive into VBT and all sorts of training protocols and reading books and things like that, that doesn't give me an excuse to not have date night on Fridays or Saturdays, or to do any of those other things that I know that I should be doing as an individual in a relationship. All these for me were used as excuses where they could have been used as tools or they could have been used as a catalyst for something bigger. So one of the things I've tried to chase more recently is to have an impact. And then that further just blossomed into me wanting to have a multifaceted impact. A number of you on this show, a number of you watching, a number of you that we work with have all probably received an invitation to a wedding from a former athlete or a text or a phone call about how much you meant to them and things like that. And those things for me are just little medals, little trophies and whatnot. They're not the big picture at the end of the day. What the big picture for me is some of those individuals whose weddings I get invited to that end up being the best wives, the best husbands, the best fathers, and healthy because they learned some tools from what I did as a coach. Some of those individuals that go on to be strength coaches, they go on to be really great strength coaches that are great fathers, mothers, husbands. It's all these things that you can put into this one vessel, which is our human body. So at the end of the day, I try to take a deeper look inside, and I ask everybody else too, is what are those things that you're focusing on, or maybe it's your priority, maybe it's your value, and then keep valuing those things. But what is it that you're putting on the back burner or using that as an excuse to not excel at or get better at? Those are things that I think about on a regular basis. And at the end of the day, it means that I've got to work on a whole lot of different things and I could be seen as busy. If COVID has taught me nothing, it's that we've got time to do the things that we want to do. So let's take our time, let's do our sets and reps, let's get this thing done, because at the end of the day, it's pretty simple to do. That's all I have for today. If you guys want to talk to me more about any of this sort of stuff, that's my name. That's some of the ways that you can contact me. Some of you guys do have my number. If you don't, just email me and we can get to chatting from there. I appreciate it. Thank you.